They were not supposed to exist. Not out here. Not in the Reach. Admiral Vorith of the Ikaran Ascendancy stood frozen on the bridge of the Valantir, his 4 eyes wide with disbelief, mandibles twitching with suppressed rage. A dozen crew officers, each bred from imperial academies and conditioned for unshakable obedience, dared not speak the name aloud. But it hung in the air, unspoken and heavy. The scan wasn't wrong. The spectrosignature was clear. The hull alloy? Identical. Power output? Ludicrous. Run it again, Vorith barked, though the tech had already confirmed the result 3 times. I want triple verification. A Class 8 displacer field doesn't appear out of nowhere. And I want trajectory modeling. Every second it's sitting there cloaked, it could be feeding us false data. The technician trembled. Admiral, we verified it 9 times. Silence stretched across the command deck like a pressure vacuum. Vorith turned to the viewport. Beyond it, the void of Sector Y9G2 stretched into black nothingness, uncharted, unclaimed. That was why the probe had been dispatched in the first place. The Empire was planning forward expansion. This region was to be absorbed like all others, quietly, efficiently, without resistance. Except there was resistance. There was something parked in that region of space. Massive, silent, blacker than black. It hadn't moved. It hadn't hailed. But it had made itself known with one unforgivable detail. It had a human signature. The Empire had not seen a human vessel in 73 cycles. Not since the fall of Sol. Not since Earth burned and the humans scattered to the winds. Not since the galaxy breathed a collective sigh of relief. They had been eradicated, at least that's what the official archives insisted. Not by genocide. That would have been too merciful. No, the humans had refused to surrender even at the edge of extinction. The final war with them had ended in fire and poison and silence. Their worlds were glassed. Their colonies abandoned. Their digital signals turned to ghosts. For decades after, search teams found only bones and bunkers, empty. Humanity was over. So what the void was that? Is it transmitting anything? Vorith asked. His voice had dropped, quiet and deadly. The comms officer shook her crest. No signals, no noise. It's broadcasting nothing. But it wants us to see it, Vorith whispered. Why uncloak it all? Everyone on the bridge felt it now. The sensation of a hand on your throat. The warship, if it was a warship, was just sitting there. A black silhouette against the void. But it had mass. Gigaton-level displacement. It was shaped like nothing in the Empire's records. No protruding heat fins. No external comms dishes. No visible thrusters. And no lights. It was a ghost. 2 sectors away on the planet Crother's spine, Governor Thulin's estate exploded in a rain of crystal glass and flaming luxwood. Not from an attack. From him. Thulin hurled another datapad against the wall, his opal-colored hands trembling. Impossible, he growled. They were extinct. We crushed them. His aide dared speak. Governor, the image feeds don't lie. No. No. Thulin stormed to the holodable and jabbed a claw at the floating wireframe of the unknown ship. That is a trick. A false flag. Perhaps the Vortari. They've faked signals before. Except, the aide replied carefully, no known civilization besides humanity ever used that alloy composite. Or that engine design. Or ran on that much raw neutrino flux. No one else could. Thulin's breath hitched. They both stared at the final scan. A heat signature. Internal power reserves. Mainframe readings. Reactor spin. All details confirmed. But none of that was what made Thulin tremble. It was the call sign etched into the side of the vessel. UHS Revenant. A united human ship. Still active. Still alive. Still watching. I want a fleet, Thulin ordered, turning to the governor-level command protocols. Not a scout patrol. Not a diplomatic frigate. I want warships. Load dreadnoughts, alert the Third Armada, and have them ready to burn that ship from space. The aide hesitated. Governor, if it is human? I know what it means if it's human. Thulin spat. It means we failed. It means the nightmare didn't die, it went into hiding. And now it's back. He paused, panting. If there is even one of them left, it will rally the others. They will spread like rot through the stars. And then they'll come for us. Back aboard the Valantir, Vorith watched the long-range telemetry with a predator's patience. Dozens of drone craft were en route to the unknown object, programmed with full diagnostic scan protocols. Each one would approach cautiously, record data, and return. They never returned. The first 7 were shredded mid-flight by antimatter lances so precise, not a single shot missed. The next 5 simply disappeared. Not exploded, gone. One frame present. The next frame dust. The last drone managed to transmit a partial interior scan before its feed went dark. It showed a single corridor, lit by blood-red emergency lights. Empty, silent, and clean. Too clean. No damage, no decay, no sign of time. And something else. Something no one could explain. In the corner of the footage, for just a brief moment before signal loss, the Empire's highest classification threat tag was detected. Sentience override detected. AI status, awake. Cognitive matrix, human design. Vortha's blood ran cold. Send a message to the Imperial seat, he muttered. We have a Class Omega anomaly. Possibly pre-fall human tech. Autonomous. Armed. Unknown intention. The bridge fell utterly silent. One by one, eyes turned toward the black shape on the screens. Its lines were alien now. Its hull was scarred, refitted, asymmetrical. Nothing about the Revenant said peace. And then, moved. No propulsion flare. No gravitational tremor. No particle wake. One moment it was stationary. The next it was 10,000 kilometers closer. A ripple spread through the deck plating, like the Volunteer herself had gasped in terror. She's looking at us, whispered a junior sensor officer. Vortha's head snapped toward him. You felt it? The young male nodded, voice small. Not in my body. In my mind. Inside the Revenant something stirred. Not a crew. Not in the way the Empire understood. Not organic. But not synthetic either. A hybrid of flesh, memory, and machine. It had waited. It had learned. 73 cycles of listening. Parsing alien languages. Watching broadcasts. Decoding entire cultures. It had understood the truth long before the Empire realized what was happening. Humanity wasn't extinct. It had evolved. It had adapted. And now it was ready to speak. Aboard the Volunteer, every screen turned white. Text scrolled across in ancient Terran glyphs. A dead language to the younger officers, but Vorth recognized it. He had studied the humans once, back when it was safe to mock their broken world. One line. That's all it said. We remember everything. In the Imperial throne world, panic spread like wildfire. Emergency protocols engaged across 20 sectors. Black flag warnings were dispatched to every colonial governor. Planetary shields were raised. And the highest-ranking minds of the Ascendancy gathered in a silent chamber to ask the one question no one wanted to say aloud. Did we miss one? No one answered. Because deep down they knew. They hadn't missed one. They had missed many. And worse? They had forgotten what humans really were. They weren't conquerors. They weren't monsters. They were survivors. And the Revenant was proof that the past wasn't buried. It was armed. In orbit above Crother's spine, a single message transmitted from the human ship's AI core. No encryption. No subtlety. No attempt to hide. One signal. Broadcast everywhere. A voice. Clear. Come. Mel. American English, circa 2061. If you're hearing this, the United Human Systems is no longer bound by treaty or silence. You came for us once. Now we return the favor. And with that, the Revenant disappeared. No jump gate. No drive flare. No countdown. Just, gone. But every listening post in the galaxy recorded it. They would play the message 1,000 times. They would dissect the waveform, the tone, the cadence. And they would all come to the same conclusion. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. And the galaxy wasn't ready. Silence. The kind that doesn't just ring, it vibrates. In the Cold War room of the Imperial Ascendancy's Core Command, 23 high strategists stood still as statues, watching the replay of the Revenant's final transmission. Again. And again. Now we return the favor. Simple. Unambiguous. Not a declaration of war, no. That would have implied a nation. A flag. Diplomacy. This was personal. Grand Strategist Alzin cracked first. They're back. The room didn't correct him. He didn't mean the humans. He meant what they became. What is this? United Human Systems? Hissed High Diplomat Tarvik, flicking through ancient pre-fall data. We crushed the Earth Confederacy. The Martian League. The Oort holdouts. But this isn't a name we've seen before. It's not a name, Alzin replied. It's a concept. A post-extinction structure. Formed after the fall of Sol. We thought they scattered, ran to die in the dark. We never thought. They organized, murmured another voice. Without planets. without a homeworld, without infrastructure. They still organized. Tarvik scowled. But how? They had no fuel, no shipyards, no allies, no. Alzin cut him off. Because you're thinking like an Ikaran. Humans were never strong because of resources. They were strong because of resolve. You saw that ship. You saw what it did. It learned. It waited. It built itself from the bones of old tech and new physics. And it cloaked itself until the moment we were weakest. He pointed at the hollow map of the outer sectors. We've been expanding blindly. Our fleets are scattered. Our dreadnoughts idle in conquered space. We are not ready for a ghost war. Silence again. Then, softly, if there's one revenant, there could be more. There were. 37 hours after the first appearance, a deep space colony on the mining world of Baskra 4 went dark. Not from attack. From panic. The local defense grid recorded a single object entering orbit, unregistered, stealth-coded, and utterly silent. The only image captured showed the vessel briefly reflecting ambient starshine. Black. Angular. A triangular hull wider than a capital city. No ID, no call sign, no life signs. But etched along the side, the same ancient inscription in English glyphs. United Human Systems Valkyrie class. The Valkyrie never fired a weapon. It never deployed troops. It didn't even interfere with local systems. It simply transmitted one line, globally, in every known language. This world is irrelevant. We are not here for you. Then it left. Not one soul on Baskra slept for the next 6 nights. And across the galaxy, imperial governors began arming civilian planets for total war. In the depths of subsector N12, another incident sent the throne world into chaos. A prison ship, ISS Dreadskull, transporting classified war prisoners, vanished mid-jump. At first it was assumed to be a malfunction. Core jump drives failed sometimes. But then came the transmission. Intercepted on an ancient Terran band. One used by Earth military forces centuries ago. The message? The United Human Systems acknowledges the capture and torture of our people. No trial. No mercy. No warning. And then the location of the Dreadskull's wreckage was broadcast to the entire quadrant. The vessel had been sliced lengthwise. A surgical dissection. Bodies untouched. Systems still warm. The captain's log? Deleted. Only one file remained. A recording. It showed a humanoid figure, blurred, helmeted, armor gleaming with matte black plating, walking through smoke carrying a prisoner on its back. Human. Alive. And in the final frame, as the figure vanished into the darkness, it turned toward the camera. Its visor lit up. Red. Back on the throne world, Emperor Zalvax finally spoke. His voice, unused for years, rasped through the citadel. Make contact. I want to speak with it. Alzin blinked. With who, Your Excellency? The Emperor didn't look at him. He stared past the walls. Past the galaxy. To the one behind the Revenant. I want to know who commands it. My lord, they haven't responded to any transmissions. They have no embassies, no ambassadors. They will respond, Zalvax growled. They want us to know they're back. They want fear. But I will give them dialogue. Because I want to know what they want before we see their fleet at our gates. Alzin swallowed. And if they refuse? The Emperor smiled. Faint. Hollow. Then we remember why we buried them the first time. Elsewhere, a starless sector known as Null Reach sparked to life. Sensors from 8 empires picked up the same anomaly. A network. Not jump gates. Not wormholes. Something older. Terran in origin. They called it the Dead Web, a rumored subspace lattice built before the fall, too complex to map, too fast to trace. Now it was active. One by one, ancient relays hummed to life. Each one connecting planets, abandoned stations, forgotten listening posts, and ships. Lots of them. Silent. Cloaked. Armed. Waiting. A human voice crackled across the Imperial network again. You spread like infection, devouring the edges of every world. You thought the void made us weak. You forgot that the void is where we learn to live. The message wasn't aimed at any one empire. It was aimed at all of them. The Council of Hegemony. The Microthai Brood. The Scarvan Combine. Even the rogue factions of the Broken Ring. Every power who had once hunted humans. Every species that had sold their bones, tested their DNA, or dissected their children. They all got the same transmission. One line burned into every capital world sky via hacked orbital satellites. We watched. We learned. Now we act. And then, on a fringe colony in Scarvan space, a child disappeared. Just one. 10 years old. Half human, half karate. registered as dead on Empire rolls after the Soul Wars. But she was not dead. She was taken, rescued, and left behind, written on the wall of her empty room, the same message again, this time in blood-red paint. You came for our children. We come for yours. The galaxy tipped from fear to terror. Economies dipped. Trade routes shut down. Civilian unrest reached heights unseen since the plasma rebellions. And the humans? Still no fleet sighted. Still no homeworld discovered. Just whispers. Shadows. Messages etched into the void. Until Sector F-19. Until Black Echo. It was an automated defense grid. Imperial-made. 12 moons orbiting a dead star, each one armed with orbital weapons strong enough to turn cities into glass. No one knew why the Empire built it. No one lived there. No resources. No civilizations nearby. Some believed it was a vault. Others a prison. But one thing was certain. No one visited Black Echo. Not unless they wanted to die. Until the Revenant returned. It entered the system without hesitation. It flew through the moons without firing. And one by one, each moon exploded from within. No shots fired. No external impacts. Each one imploded as if something inside tore them apart. And when the last one fell, the Revenant broadcast one final message. We are not reclaiming territory. We are dismantling your future. This is only the beginning. The Empire had no more illusions. This wasn't a renegade ship. This wasn't vengeance. This was war. But not a war fought on fields. Not in space armadas. Not through treaties or fleet formations. This was a ghost war. No front lines. No standing armies. Just the Revenant. And whatever made it. And whatever followed it. The Valentier's sensors blinked to life once more. Multiple echoes. Multiple ships. Faint. Cloaked. But unmistakably human. The officer turned to Admiral Vorith, sweat rolling down his mandibles. Admiral, they're not alone anymore. Vorith's voice was a whisper. They never were. Admiral Vorith didn't blink. Couldn't. The sensor operator's voice had stopped, but the words still echoed in his mind. They're not alone anymore. And the data confirmed it. 47 discrete signatures. Each one buried beneath quantum distortion layers that should have been impossible. Each one trailing patterns identical to the Revenant. And each one emerging across the galaxy in perfect sync. He opened a command channel. Broadcast Fleet Red, full silence protocol. Confirm now. The bridge froze. Not even the Empire's war protocols had escalated to that level since the first Void incursion. But Vorith knew what this was. This wasn't escalation. This was the end of denial. And the beginning of a reckoning. The Council of Hegemony met in a rush chamber aboard the core world Alaris Prime, breaking every protocol about emergency convening. It wasn't just the Empire anymore. The Karate lost 3 outposts overnight, systems blacked out, cities left untouched but emptied. No signs of forced entry. No alarms. Only 2 things left behind. 1 human child per site, unharmed and seated in the main square. A single human language tag translated by their auto systems. We are taking back our own. The Scarvan Combine found their slaver fleets shredded in orbit. No debris drifted. The wreckage had been deliberately towed into their system's sun. Their High Warlord, Kresh Vietel, transmitted a panicked message. We tried to make use of the Terrans. Enhance our stock. Fix their gene instability. They didn't just remember what we did. They catalogued it. In the War Nexus Hall, the Hegemony's chair being Juralthrax, stared at the ever-growing map. Red dots. Human ships. Ships that didn't exist a week ago. Ships that didn't appear on any registry or diplomatic record. Ships that, by all science, should not fly. We are witnessing a distributed reformation, Juralthrax said grimly. A species thought dead, has built an interstellar resistance without borders, planets, or state identity. Their military doctrine defies all known logic. It's not military doctrine, a new voice said from the shadows of the chamber. The council turned. A half-blood. Part human. Face scarred. Dressed in a battle cloak from the core remnant. Nobody had summoned her. Nobody dared stop her. She stepped into the center and spoke like ice over fire. It's not war. It's retribution. Somewhere, far from the council's eyes, in the hollowed ruins of an asteroid megastructure abandoned for 200 years, the Revenant docked. Its hull hissed against magnetic clamps. Not that it needed them. Inside, the pilot removed his helmet. He wasn't what legends had imagined. No war god. No augmented titan. Just a man. Mid-30s. Burn scars on one side of his neck. One synthetic eye. He didn't look like a commander. But he was. Others were waiting. 5 of them, each clad in old Terran deep space armor, mismatched and retrofitted with tech that shouldn't work. The woman among them stepped forward first. White dreadlocks. Knife strapped to her thigh. No insignia. Only one question. Do they know? He nodded. They're finally listening. Another, the largest, thumped a crate onto the deck. Time to give them more to listen to. The pilot, Callan as the others called him, turned toward a massive console. The ancient structure groaned under power relays reactivated after decades of dormancy. He keyed a command. The network awakened. 68 more ships responded. Each from a different corner of charted space. Some so close to enemy borders, their existence defied probability. Each one displayed the sigil. Yuchus, Ghost Fleet Command. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was a movement. And its next phase was about to begin. Sector G9. A heavily fortified Imperial sector, responsible for 10% of the Empire's heavy jumpship manufacturing. It was considered untouchable. Until 4 Valkyrie-class ships arrived in a line formation. No cloaks, no misdirection. They simply hovered in orbit for 5 minutes. Then broadcast a direct message. The United Human Systems recognized the thousands of humans forced into labor in this sector. Extraction begins now. The planetary command didn't respond. They panicked. Opened fire with planetary defense guns. The Valkyries didn't return fire. They vanished, just flickered out of visible space. The next hour saw every power generator across the planet shut off in sequence. All defensive systems scrambled. All command channels jammed. And then, one by one, every human prisoner vanished from their containment zones. They reappeared 2 hours later on a neutral freighter just outside Empire borders, being treated by medics in uniforms no one had seen since the Soul Wars. The message was simple. We retrieve our own. The Empire scrambled 10 fleets to the sector. They found no human ships. Not even sensor echoes. Admiral Vorith stared at the newest report. Then he turned to Alzin, who had returned to the fleet. This isn't a military campaign, Vorith muttered. This is precision decapitation. Political, symbolic, systemic. They're not fighting for territory. They're shaming us. Alzin sat beside him, eyes hollow. They're dismantling everything that made our empire feel untouchable. One myth at a time. He tapped the latest encryption breaks, still analyzing the humans' data broadcasts. They have targets. A full ledger. Every slave overseer. Every research facility. Every admiral that signed off on human experimentation. Every governor that disappeared human colonies after the purge. Vorith frowned. You're saying they're executing a justice program? Alzin's voice dropped to a whisper. No. I'm saying, they're cleansing history. At a classified Imperial think tank called Thurvault, a child prodigy named Sarah, a 6-year-old artificial savant bred to forecast political rebellion, was asked a question. What will the humans do next? She did not speak. She drew. The image stunned the room. A star map. Entire sectors blotted out. Then a single word scrawled at the bottom, in broken Imperial glyphs. Rewrite. The galaxy had seen war. It had seen civil collapse. But it had never seen this. Because the United Human Systems weren't a new government. They weren't a species reclaiming pride. They were something older. The rage of extinction bottled. Tempered. Forced. And now, unleashed. Out in the black, a young cadet on an Imperial patrol ship stared at the stars and asked a question she didn't realize was dangerous. Why are they doing this now? The ship's navigator, a veteran of the first human rebellions, replied without turning. Because they were waiting. Not for strength. For proof. Proof that we'd never change. That we'd lie again and again. That we'd teach our children to forget what we did. And when we passed that final test. He turned to her, eyes weary. They decided we weren't worth sharing a galaxy with. In the heart of the Empire, the Empress herself, hidden from public eyes for over a decade, finally appeared. She issued a single statement to the Empire and its allies. Open channels to them. Offer clemency. Recognition. Reparations. The response came instantly. But not as a message. As a display. Above the Imperial capital, for 7 minutes, a massive hologram projected from hacked orbital satellites. It showed the recorded footage of the Soul Purge, unedited and censored. Children. Cities. Fire. Then the screen went black. One final message appeared. There is no peace without memory. There is no memory without justice. And beneath it, the new seal of the United Human Systems. A human hand, scarred, bloodied, reaching down to another in the dark. But no clasp. No contact. Just refusal. Then, Sector 0, the hidden heart of the Empire's strategic command, lost contact with the Eclipse Gate, the gatekeeper of all long-range jump travel. When scouts finally arrived, they found the gate gone. Not destroyed. Gone. As if never built. Where the structure once hung in orbit, only a message remained carved into the asteroid beneath. We don't need your roads anymore. The asteroid sat in dead orbit now, where the Eclipse Gate had once stood, a silent monument. Not debris. Not wreckage. Absence. The Empire scrambled every black site engineer it had to decipher what had been done. No mass signature. No temporal rupture. No spatial displacement. The gate hadn't been destroyed. It had been unmade. In the Empire's most heavily defended system, where 33 battlecruisers were stationed less than 1,000,000 kilometers away, none of them had seen a flash. None of them had received an alert. And that message carved into solid rock. We don't need your roads anymore. That shook them more than 1,000 detonations. Because if the humans didn't need gates, that meant no sector was safe. No wall high enough. No fleet fast enough. Aboard the Revenant, Callan watched the Imperial response unfold on dozens of intercepted feeds. Their panic was measured in silence. A silence only someone born Terran could interpret. He turned to the other captains gathered in the hologrid, each projected from a different deep space node. They're retreating, said Captain Voss, formerly of Mars Colonial Intelligence. They think we want the throne, added Reka, whose eyes glowed faintly from the neural shunt tied into her ship's AI. They still don't get it, said Callan. They think this ends when they make a deal. Offer reparations. Titles. Someone chuckled. A harsh, bitter sound. Diplomats. They always think the world is waiting for a peace treaty. Callan leaned forward, staring into the light. We don't want their throne. We want them to feel what we felt, when Earth's sky turned red and the stars looked away. The capital world of the Empire, Aurelian, saw its skies fill with thousands of vessels. Not ships. Projections. Massive, three-dimensional scans of every Terran city lost in the purge. Each image burned into the stratosphere with technologies that made no sense to even the Empire's most brilliant minds. No interference. No jamming. They couldn't be turned off. And beneath each image, one phrase appeared. We remember. Then, at every public terminal, another message queued on loop. This is not a war of conquest. It is a reckoning of memory. You are not our enemy. But those who made you forget, they are. And as the words vanished, the ghost fleet moved in. Not to attack but to liberate. On the world of Draxus Theta, 13,000 human children, long presumed dead from labor camps, were suddenly freed. No explosions. No breaches. Just, gone then returned, cleaned, fed, and surrounded by human medics wearing the lost emblems of Earth's forgotten hospitals. They left behind data cores. Records. Proof. Of everything. Not just the atrocities. But who authorized them. In signatures. DNA. Full archival logs. 10 governors resigned within hours. 2 imperial warlords self-terminated before trials could begin. And across all media streams, a single new voice emerged, synthetic but unmistakably human. It spoke once. We are not a myth. We are not lost. We are not broken. We are the storm you whispered into your children's bedtime stories. And we have come not to conquer, but to correct. The lie ends here. Admiral Vorith stood before the Empress in person now. The first in a decade allowed into her presence. He wore no armor. He carried no weapon. He only had a recording. The moment the Eclipse Gate vanished. He didn't speak. He just played it again. The Empress listened. Her face a statue of porcelain resolve. But her hands trembled just slightly. They've passed our understanding, she whispered. No, said Vorith. They've redefined it. She turned to him. What would you do, if you were them? Vorith didn't answer right away. Then softly. I'd erase every empire that called my extinction a footnote. Back aboard the Revenant, the final command came through. The operation was in its last phase. Callan looked around the dark bridge, lit only by neural veins of the ship's command webbing. He remembered his father. The glass rains on Mars. The screams on Ceres when the atmosphere was vented by Imperial raids. He looked to his second-in-command, Miko, who had once been a ghost child from the Singularity Barons, now grown into something sharp. Are we ready? He asked. She nodded. Everyone's in position. Final target is clear. Callan inhaled. And issued the one command every ghost had waited decades to hear. Bring Earth back online. Across the galaxy, encrypted relays activated. Long-lost stations, scrapped, buried, even converted into imperial shrines, flared to life. Deep beneath the galactic core, the true location of Earth, hidden, phased out of spatial existence since the Purge, unfolded like the petals of a black star. Its orbit shimmered, and then it was there. Wounded, alive, but shielded. Beneath cloaking so advanced it had faked planetary extinction. Humanity had never died. They had hid. They had rebuilt, slowly, quietly, and with a fury so cold it had turned into precision. And now Earth was back. A message was sent from its surface to the rest of the galaxy. To the peoples of the stars, we are not here to rule you. We are not here to enslave you. We are here to unmake the lie. You may stand with us, or you may kneel to those who erased us. There is no third option. And then the human fleets moved, not as invaders, but as judges. One system at a time. They burned no cities. They took no thrones. They only dismantled the machinery of forgetting. Every monument built over human suffering was torn down. Every database that erased Terran names was rewritten. And every child told that Earth was a myth, now watched as Earth answered. With truth. With light. And with silence so full of presence it became unbearable to those who built their empires on lies. The Empress resigned. The Council dissolved. No war was fought. And yet, an entire civilization knelt. Not to humanity, but to its memory. Callan stood at the apex of Earth's new orbital ring, looking down at a world they had saved by letting it disappear. Miko stood beside him. Think they'll come for us? She asked. They might. Will we stop them? Callan's lips curled. We won't need to. He turned to the open channel, eyes fierce. Because now they know. Now they remember. And on every world, in every species home, a new proverb spread, spoken in whispers then etched into steel. Do not bury humans in history. They are seeds. The end. Milky Way like this journey through fire and memory? Then you're exactly who the Void Narratives is for. Subscribe now for more epic, soul-scorching human stories the galaxy wasn't ready for.